The mother wound isn't a clinical diagnosis, but rather a sociological and psychological term used to describe the pain, trauma, and regressive patterns passed down through generations of women in patriarchal cultures. It is the result of a mother's unhealed trauma, unfulfilled dreams, and internalized oppression being inadvertently projected onto her children. While it is rooted in the mother-daughter dynamic, its ripples affect both gender, shaping how we view ourselves, how we relate to others, and how we navigate emotional intimacy. What is the mother wound? At its core, the mother wound is a relational trauma. It often manifests when a mother, stifled by societal expectations or her own upbringing, is unable to provide the emotional mirroring a child needs to feel safe and worthy. Common manifestations: the perfectionist drive, feeling that love is earned through achievement rather than being inherent. Smallness, a subconscious belief that one must stay small or quiet to avoid outshining or threatening the mother. Lack of boundaries, difficulty saying no or feeling responsible for other people's emotional states. Neglecting one's own needs to tend to the mother's or others' emotional voids. Impact on women, the mirror of sacrifice. For women, the mother wound is often a direct transmission of the cost of being a woman. A daughter may feel a profound sense of guilt for pursuing a life her mother was denied. Internalized comparison. If a mother felt competitive with her daughter's youth or opportunities, the daughter may grow up viewing other women as threats rather than allies. The cycle of self-sacrifice. Daughters often learn that to be a good woman is to be a martyr. This leads to burnout and a loss of personal identity in adulthood. The permission gap. Women with this wound often wait for permission to be happy, successful, or assertive, permission they never received from their primary female role model. Impact on men, the emotional protectorate. Men experience the mother wound differently, often through the lens of emotional responsibility or enmeshment. The surrogate partner. In homes where a mother is emotionally unfulfilled by her partner, she may turn to her son for emotional support. This forces the son into a man of the house role prematurely, leading to enmeshment. Fear of female emotion. If a son felt overwhelmed by his mother's volatile or heavy emotions, he may grow up to be emotionally avoidant. He might view a partner's needs as a trap or a burden he is responsible for fixing. Performance as worth. Men may feel they are only loved for what they provide or do, mirroring the way they had to perform to keep their mother stable or happy. Healing the wound. Healing isn't about blaming one's mother. It's about acknowledging the systemic and personal limitations she faced. Grieving the ideal mother. Accepting that you may never get the specific emotional nurturing you needed from her. Reparenting. Learning to provide yourself with the validation and boundaries you lacked in childhood. Breaking the cycle. Consciously choosing not to pass these expectations or guilts onto the next generation. The mother wound is not a defect in you. It is a legacy of survival that no longer serves your growth. By addressing these patterns, we stop living as extensions of our parents' unhealed pasts and start living as our authentic selves. Since the mother wound is essentially a blueprint for how we give and receive love, it shows up most vividly in our romantic lives. When we haven't healed that initial primary connection, we often spend our adult lives trying to solve the problem of our childhood through our partners. Here is how those wounds translate into attachment theory and the practical steps you can take to begin the reparenting process. Part 1. How the wound shapes romance. In relationships, the mother wound usually manifests as an insecure attachment style. We often subconsciously choose partners who recreate the emotional climate of our childhood home because it feels familiar, and the brain confuses familiar with safe. 1. The anxious preoccupied response. If your mother was inconsistently available, sometimes loving, sometimes cold/absent, you may develop an anxious attachment. The behavior: constant checking in, needing perpetual reassurance, and a deep fear of abandonment. The romantic mirror: you might choose partners who are avoidant or chaseable, recreating the feeling of having to earn love or attention. 2. The dismissive avoidant response. If your mother was overbearing, intrusive, or emotionally volatile, you may have learned to shut down to survive. The behavior: viewing intimacy as a loss of independence. You might pull away when things get too deep, or use work and hobbies to create distance. The romantic mirror: you might choose partners who are needy, allowing you to stay in the powerful, distant position, effectively becoming the cold mother yourself. Part 2, the art of reparenting. Reparenting is the act of giving your inner child what they needed but didn't receive. It's about becoming the stable, loving authority figure you lacked. 1. The mirroring exercise. As children, we learn who we are by looking at our mother's face. If she looked at us with resentment or exhaustion, we saw ourselves as burdens. The shift. Practice looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, "I am glad you are here." It sounds simple, but for someone with a mother wound, acknowledging your own right to exist without doing something is profound. 2. Setting internal boundaries. Many people with this wound have a harsh inner critic that sounds suspiciously like a parent. 3. Identifying secondary needs. We often get angry at our partners when we are actually feeling a mother wound trigger. The shift. Next time you feel triggered, ask, "Is this about my partner? Or is this a 7-year-old version of me feeling ignored?" Identifying the age of the feeling helps you respond from your adult self rather than your wounded child. Subscribe, like, and share the Libido channel